Dreamers. This is the Center for Spiritual Living in Greater Boston, Cambridge. We welcome you here. You are part of our virtual community as we are here in our wonderful Center for Spiritual Living at 50 Dudley Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We are so welcome and so grateful to have you here with us. Thank you for sharing this time to awaken to the truth of your being. The Centers for Spiritual, and we are so blessed to have many, many sacred texts that talk about this inner world that then becomes our outer world. So who are the poor, embracing the gifts of spirit? Ernest Holmes says, the nature of God is incarnated in every soul. All are whole, perfect, and complete, just as they are. If we are perceiving the poor, then we are experiencing separation from God. And there is no separation. The key to healing separation is knowing who we are. So when we perceive the poor, we are coming from a place of limited thinking. We are actually focusing on race-mind consciousness. And what is race-mind consciousness? All of the belief, thoughts, and ideas that humankind have thought since the beginning of time. The good, the neutral, the ugly, the negative, or the positive. And so when we are focusing on the haves and the have-nots, whether it's ourselves or we're looking at others, we are focusing on the untruths, the universal untruths, because the truth is we are one with God. And as we are one with God, and we know this in consciousness, no one that we perceive can be poor, and nor can we be poor. We are coming from a limited idea of the Most High, God, Source, Energy, this force that keeps us alive. We are limiting it, we are limiting ourselves, and we are limiting others. So what are some ways that we can stop from seeing the poor or heal our sense of poverty consciousness? Our first step is through communion. Communion with the one power and the one presence. Communion with God is our connection to all that is. It means being connected to life and to God. And how do we do that? We do this through practicing spiritual truths in our daily lives. And we practice these spiritual truths in our daily lives by practicing our spiritual disciplines. Discipline has been a word that has some negative connotations for many of us in the West. We think of, some of us, with a Christian upbringing might think, or Catholic upbringing, may think of nuns and priests. Others of us, based on our religious foundation, may think of going without whippings and fasting and not dancing and lives of despair or minimalism, extreme minimalism, or lack of joy. But for us, as truth students, we know that discipline is a way that we come to self-mastery. So we choose, as truth students, all of us, to focus on the positive aspects of this word. This word, discipline, allows us to awaken to who we are. So as we practice our disciplines, what does that look like? That can look like 5 minutes of meditation, going into the silence every day. Many of us in the Western world are extremely ambitious. We want to do Ironman competitions and Iron Women competitions and this or that, but we can begin a drop at a time. A drop at a time becomes a puddle, becomes a bucket, and then overflows. Our meditation practices can begin with a minute, can begin with a breath, shutting our eyes, taking a breath in, recognizing that we are more than our bodies. We are more than our circumstances. We are more than our negative thinking and what's going on, our views of others. So as we begin to practice going into the silence, we align with a power greater than any power in the world. And we begin to see with the eyes behind the physical eyes, and hear with the ears behind the physical ears, and feel with our spiritual heart. And so as we begin to practice these principles, these disciplines, prayer, we are blessed that through Ernest Holmes we received a beautiful gift, or a spiritual technology of treatment. What is treatment? Ernest Holmes and many of the New Thought leaders of the early 20th century believed that we should treat the same way you take medication and you treat an illness or a dis-ease. You can also treat the circumstances of your life through prayer. So treatment is simply affirmative prayer. And this prayer technology that we were given has 5 parts. The first part is the recognition. You recognize your oneness with God. So you describe the qualities of God, seen and unseen. God is beauty. God is power. God is unlimited givingness and goodness. God is the ocean. God is this beautiful, wonderful, lovely lady sitting right here. We are all God. So you describe the qualities of God, seen and unseen. And then you unify with these qualities. I am one with this power. I'm one with this beauty. I'm one with this presence. Its intelligence, its magnificence. And then the meat of the treatment, or the affirmative prayer, is the realization. And this is the space where we, as truth students, use the teachings. We affirm our good, present tense. I am, I have, now. I can. So we affirm a good that we are desiring to see manifest in our life in present tense. We don't go, oh, I want to succeed, or I will one day, or it might happen. We know it now. I am healed, whole, and complete. My life is magnificent. I am a powerful child of God. So we know this in the realization step. We give thanks for it in the 4th step. I am so grateful. I am so grateful that it's already being done, that it's right here and right now, that my life is a magnificent life, fulfilling, joy-filled, prosperous, grounded in the truth that I am one with God. And we release it because we recognize that we are powerful beings using universal law. In the science of mind, we believe that there is a creative medium. It's all around us. It is, and yet it molds according to our thinking. So according to your thinking, the Bible says it will be done. Life and death is in the tongue, so whatever we think, speak, or act from will manifest. So when we think about the poor, are we poor in spirit? Poor in spirit would actually mean, in my definition, would mean we are not recognizing that of ourselves, with God, we can create a magnificent life. That we are coming from limitations, past experiences, present experiences that have discouraged us. The challenge with being human, being spirits, having a human experience, is that our life circumstances can seem so concrete. It's so easy to look at that bill. It's so easy to look at those people and think that that's it for them, or that's it for us. And yet we are reminded by endless teachers of God, the Buddha, Krishna, all of these messengers of the Most High, Jesus the Christ, that we are more than the appearance of our circumstances, that we are more than what is occurring even in our own consciousness, the appearance of depression, the appearance of negative thinking. We are more. So as we tap into or practice these spiritual disciplines, meditation, prayer, contemplation, walking meditation, and for me it's been exercise, and then I meditate before or after. It doesn't have to be so rigorous. It does not have to look perfect. But as we tune in and tune up, we download and remember who we are and whose we are. and we begin to change ourselves, and then therefore, as we're changing our concept of who we are, we also begin to see others differently. When you are one with God, in communion with the Most High, you cannot see anyone as poor. You actually see people as rich. You see their gifts. You recognize them for who they really are, children of the Most High. And so, do not judge by appearances, or race-mind consciousness. We then get stuck in being human beings instead of the spiritual truth that we are spirits having a human experience. And we stop seeing people through this limitation, and we begin to see them with the mind of God. So we step out of limitation, and we step into an unlimited consciousness of possibility. So we are, as Ernest Holmes, the secret to spiritual power lies in a consciousness of one's union with the whole and the availability of good. God is accessible to all. So when we look at people as poor or broken or diseased or ill, or it'll never happen for them, we are not seeing them with the eyes of the potentiality of God. Or when we see ourselves as broke and poor and tired and it's never going to happen and it's never going to be right, we are seeing ourselves from human mind limitation and not with the eyes of God. If we want to change our world, if we want to live from a space of spirituality in action, we must begin to see ourselves and all of life with the eyes of God. So ultimately, this seeing people as poor, seeing ourselves as poor, as broken, seeing circumstances as not enough, comes from a misperception. Infinite possibilities exist. A misperception happens when I think that seeing is believing. I might be wrong about what I'm seeing with my eyes. So we think that seeing is believing. That's a race-mind consciousness. That's a race-mind belief. We actually must see and know with the inner eye. We must see from a higher consciousness. Anything can happen in a moment. Instantaneously, good can manifest. So if we are allowing ourselves to be hypnotized by what is occurring in our lives, we will only experience more limitation. Many teachers have told us that what is showing up in our life right now, what's happening to you right now, is actually a reflection of past beliefs that you held in consciousness. The thought of it's so hard, it's never going to work out, shows up 8 weeks later, 8 months later, 8 years later, if you're constantly holding that. As you begin in the now to think correctly, I am whole, I am well, I am wealthy, I am prosperous, I am joy-filled, I embody peace. As you hold these thoughts consistently, you will be creating a magnificent future, and you will see it come to pass. Ernest Holmes tells us the hardest thing, one of the most difficult things for so many of us, is to hold in consciousness the thought of the thing that we desire when something else has manifested. So when difficulties have manifested, and we're seeing this, it's real, it's appearing as brick and mortar in our lives, to hold the idea of something different is the challenge that many of us face. Wow, you mean to tell me this is happening to me? And if I hold a different concept, if I hold a different idea, a prosperous life, more success, well-being, and peace, that will come to pass, but this is what I'm seeing. But according to your faith it shall be done to you. And faith the size of a mustard seed. And please Google mustard seeds and what they look like. They're so teeny. So you just need a concentrated force of faith the faith of God, to have things manifest in your life. And we can all do that. So hold on to these thoughts, these high-minded thoughts of peace, of joy, of opulence and abundance for yourself and all others, and they will come to pass. So he who is dealing with diseases is from the signs of mind, poverty or unhappiness, he or she who would be caught in the mental vibration, we should seek to disentangle our imagination from the material man and join with our contemplation of the spiritual man or woman. So yes, there is an appearance of this physical body, and yet we are also spiritual beings, and when we join in contemplation with this truth, we are spiritual beings that are all powerful in this universe, in this world. As we begin to contemplate this, our lives will change in front of our eyes. So our purpose, we have a spiritual purpose. Our purpose is to be God in expression. If you pick up a young child or a pet, you feel the tenderness, the expression of love. This is God in expression. What might be perceived as difficult can be transformed by the presence of God, and we can see the lesson in it and be transmuted and be lifted up in a consciousness of power that then changes our lives. Ernest Holmes states, every challenge, every difficulty, every temptation asks you to question who you really are. Are you simply human? Are you simply this human animal? Or are you a spirit having a human experience? So every challenge, every difficulty, it actually is a test, a spiritual pop quiz, to see whether or not you will decide to know who you really are. Who you really are. Are you a limited human being with no possibilities of success or well-being, happiness, peace, or joy? Are you limited by what's happening? And do you agree with it? I'm thinking back to when I was growing up. My family, I was born in Haiti. I came to this country as a little girl. And I remember feeling rich. I was blessed to have parents who were teachers. My mother was a French teacher and my father taught mathematics. They had been teachers for the UN. I'd grown up partly in Kinshasa, West Africa, Zaire. And as a little girl, Zaire had just become independent, so the Belgians had left, and so my mother and father were teachers with a whole bunch of international people. So I had little friends who were French and Belgian and African and Haitian, so my world was very, very international. And because of that, I always felt like a citizen of the world. And then we immigrated to the US, and there are messages that are sent out through media, through cultural ideas about black people. So I remember being a child, feeling very rich. I was surrounded by books. There were people flying in and out who weren't rich, but my parents were intellectuals, so learning and discovering the world was a value system. And so I felt like I was nourished in a soil that was very rich. But as I began living in the world and absorbing the messages, I was told I was black. And I remember the first time I was like, oh, I'm Asian. I don't know what black is, and I'm brown. I remember thinking as a little kid, but I'm brown. Okay, I'm pretty brown, but I'm not black, so I didn't get that one. But this starts getting in. So this black is also associated with limitations, with poverty. It's associated with maybe being uncouth or loud or wild or rude. It has a history of sorrow. And then suddenly, this slavery, that message came in, and a message of limitation. And suddenly I began to see myself as a victim. I was raised in a family. There was no victim consciousness in my family. We were proud to be Haitian, the first black country to have its independence in 1804. The Louisiana Purchase happened as a result of Haiti winning the war with France. France was broke, so France sold the Louisiana territory to the United States, and therefore that's why America is a big, beautiful country. We'd be flying through a French colony if the Haitians hadn't won a 10-year war against the French. So I was I was very proud about who I was, but I began to absorb this idea of poor and victim. And luckily, I didn't completely absorb it. There was a bit of a battle because I would look at my family. My uncle, who was a doctor, who studied in Warsaw, Poland, family that was going back and forth. Once again, we weren't wealthy by American standards, but we were international, and I had access to everything. So luckily there was this battle. And through my journey, at 19 I discovered, was blessed to discover the science of mind. I realized this battle I had had, this isn't me. I don't feel like I can relate to what I'm being told here. I don't feel like it's the truth about me, but I guess the world sees me this way. Oh well, so life is going to be hard and I'm a victim. I had internalized this poverty idea. And so with the science of mind, finding these wonderful centers and this philosophy, I realized, oh, they're wrong anyway. Oh, thank God I held on to some remnants of, pieces of truth. I am not a victim. I'm victorious. I'm wonderful. I'm brilliant. I'm a child of God. I'm a citizen of the world. So everything, I was blessed that the seeds that had been nourished in the soil of my family, I could then go back and really water with a fervor and allow to grow. But we all of us, regardless of white, black, gender, whatever, regardless, we must stand up in consciousness against this message of limitation that we would receive from the world that has a wonderful media campaign, because when you're feeling limited, you might just shop a little bit more. You might just eat a little bit more. You might just drug a little bit more. You will look for satisfaction outside of yourself. And there's a whole industry in society that doesn't want you to really do that. Find satisfaction within yourself. So we are the outliers. We are the outliers who are choosing to know that within ourselves we have everything that we need to have magnificent lives. So as we release this misperception and we become less non-resistant because we are practicing our spiritual disciplines, 1-minute meditation, 5-minute meditation, go within. You are a spirit having a human experience. Charge yourself up. The same way we charge our gadgets. We're so dedicated to charging up our gadgets today. We won't go anywhere without bringing a charger. There are all sorts of chargers now. Instant chargers, the ones for the car. There's all sorts of technology around charging. Well, dedicate yourselves to charging yourself up with the same amount of fervor. Bring all of those tools with you wherever you go so that you can instantly nourish yourself. If you're having one of those moments, take a breath in, shut your eyes on the train, the bus. If you're at a red light, I am one with the greatest power and presence in the universe. I am victorious. I have spiritual dominion. All is well. And get through that red light and go along your way. But charge yourself instantly, constantly. Declare that you have well-being. Declare that you have power. Practice the presence of God. Go within. Say affirmative prayer. If you don't know what treatment is, learn about it. There are lots of small books. There's so much information on the Science of Mind website, the greater CSL.org. There are so many teachers teaching this. Learn to do affirmations. I am whole, healthy, and complete. I am powerful. I am one with the presence of God. God's infinite abundance is circulating in my life. God's wholeness and perfection is radiating in every cell and atom of my being. Begin to speak affirmatively of the good that you desire. Contemplate, study. Turn off the radio. Do we use radios? Turn off the internet. Turn off the iPod. Go within. Or get an app that helps you. Say affirmations and meditations. Charge yourself up with the Most High, with this power and presence that is always in absence. Begin to see and know that you are whole, joyful, free, and prosperous. As you know this for yourself, you will automatically know for others. So you will no longer see anyone as poor, broken, without. You will no longer see yourself as poor, broken, or without. As you begin to go within, recognizing the presence of God, Spirit, Source, beingness as your true reality. And so it is. Amen. So it is. So we are going to go into prayer. So let's close our eyes and ground ourselves. As we take this breath in, the purpose of this treatment is to know that each one here is grounded in the truth of their being. They know who they are and whose they are. They know that the power and presence of the Most High, God, Spirit, Divine Intelligence, Source, the quantum field, is now consciously working in and through their very being. And as they tune in, they tune into the frequency of creation, and their lives become a masterpiece. Knowing who they are, knowing their power. This is the purpose of this treatment. God is all power. God is the only power and presence in the universe. All beauty, all bounty. God is infinite opulence. The trillion blades of grass. The endless grains of sand. God is in every drop of ocean water. God is the very life of every cell in every human body. God is the molecules of oxygen and hydrogen that we call air that we breathe. Infinite, eternal givingness. God is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. God is all knowledge, wisdom, brilliance. God is love and life. And I am one with this power and this presence. I am one with this infinite givingness called Spirit. This infinite quantum field, named a million names, a trillion names. This endless source of life. I am one with it. And because I'm one with it, I know that each one here is one with this power and presence. That each one here is a magnificent being of God. Each one here aligns with this power and presence. And they are in this very moment reborn, regenerated, restored to vitality. The body temples of each one here. Each body temple is now vibrating in complete, radiant, magnificent, beautiful health. Every cell and atom of every person here, every body temple is expressing radiant, divine, perfect health and wholeness. The lives of each one present are being charged, filled up with the power and presence of God. New brilliance, new divine ideas that prosper each and every one here. New joy, new direction, new fulfillment, new brilliance, new bounty, new beauty being revealed in the life and in the body temple, in the consciousness of each one here. Each one here turns within daily, tuning into the kingdom of God, source, life within them. They are juiced up with a fire from spirit. Every limited idea or pattern is being transmuted, transformed, and dissolved. And right here and right now, there is an instantaneous downloading of new beliefs. Beliefs that prosper. Beliefs that bring happiness, joy, success, harmony, well-being, peace, brilliance, wisdom, power, and unlimited knowledge. Divine intelligence is the expression of every being here. Happiness, creativity, manifestations of fine arts, painting, dance, writing, businesses, studies completed, divine right relationships, miracle manifestations of health, well-being, peace, and wholeness. This is the truth about each one here, each one live streaming. This is the truth for every living being on this planet. As each one here downloads the truth of who they are, there is an inner revolution that becomes a spiritual revolution, and the world is changed. Each one here ceases from judging their circumstances or judging others. Right here and right now, there is self-compassion and compassion for everyone. Each one here sees themselves and all beings from the eyes and the gaze of God, seeing wholeness and power, prosperity, beauty, poise, elegance, creativity, and success. This is the truth. I give thanks for the miracle manifestations that abound in the lives of each one present. I give thanks for the science of mind, Ernest Holmes, and all of the spiritual teachers that have existed from the beginning of time, who have taught us that we are powerful. I am so grateful that each one steps into his or her or their personal power, and they create a magnificent life right here and right now. I release this word of power, this word of truth, this word of love into the law of mind, into the law of God, into the law of spirit, into the quantum field of all creativity, knowing that it returns, flowing over, manifested abundantly for each one here and each one live streaming. I end this treatment, this affirmative prayer, by saying, and please join me in saying, and so it is. Amen.